So anything else we should talk about?
I think we can have some general advice for career beginners in China, because some of the cultural difference we are facing right now is that China is a fast-changing country. Our generation are not having usual guidance from our parents because the society changed too much. The advice they give us for working are not so applicable, and also because so many foreign companies went to China. So it's a new, different culture than what we learned from school, because our professors in college were mostly working in their own mindset or their own experiences, which were not really that many foreign companies yet. So the knowledge and the way that they were teaching us were not so applicable to the real life that we were facing after graduation. And because of that, there's a generational gap that we don't know where to turn for advice or guidance when we have confusion. That's why when we were posting questions, we got really a lot of questions from friends asking this and that in terms of this whole situation that we were trying to adapt to new cultures and the fast pace and no speed limit of this whole country.
Yes.
Yes. So how can you position or navigate better? For example, the majors that we learned were not so fit into my own career plan, so I need to change my major. Or I couldn't change my major, I couldn't go back to school already. So how can I find new ways to create my own future? And then if I'm stuck because of my English major after a while, then what inner voice that I should listen to guide me better? Because there are not so many outside resources available for me. The alumni resource you mentioned actually were not so available in China because we don't have that system yet. We're building it, but it's not there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good question. It's a very good question. A challenging one.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know if I have the answer, but I can
Right.
give you one way to think about it.
Okay.
Initially, I often have undergraduates come to me struggling with career choice and major, but again, they don't have enough life experience to really answer the question.
Right.
So I always tell them, take on the most aggressive thing you can.
Okay.
Take on big challenges.
Right.
And then reflect back after every 2 years.
Okay.
How's this working for me? So another way to think about that might be your 20s.
Yeah.
Your ages when you're in your 20s, that should really be spent on growing and expanding your horizon.
But because China, with this long history, all your parents or your grandparents are putting pressure on you of being conformative.
Yeah.
And because you don't really have that many life experiences yet. So to some extent, you're not so confident. And then when their voice or opinions were so strong, how can you be so loyal to yourself? It takes a lot of courage and strength
It does.
to do that.
It takes a lot of courage and strength.
Yeah.
And it involves a lot of honest conversations.
With yourself. Yeah.
With yourself and with your family.
But what if they're stubborn, which is very common right now?
Yes. But explain to them that the world is changing and you're not clear.
Sure.
And you're not sure. And you're not sure.
But then if you're not sure, it's very hard for you to convince them because you're not sure. You don't have a definite answer, and they need a definite answer to feel safe, to let you go.
Right.
And that's a dilemma.
I don't know. Maybe just fake it.
How?
It's a very good question because
How?
There's a great title of a book called Building the Bridge as You're Walking on It.
Right.
And I think that really summarizes that really well.
Okay.
You don't know what the future holds.
Right.
And
but
there's
then
pressure.
you have to convince your parents or grandparents who have really big influence on you, and you learned when you were small that in that culture you're supposed to listen to them and respect them and try to please them too.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't know.
So one opportunity or way to do that would be to create a plan
Right.
and give them your plan.
Okay.
So I'm only going to be going to Shanghai
I see.
for 3 years.
Right.
And then I'm going to come back.
Okay.
And I'm doing it for these reasons.
Right.
If they see a plan, they're more likely to trust where you're going.
I would highly doubt that it would have to be a very long and consistent, frequent communications rather than one
You're right. And that's not, and I think that's something that is a cultural phenomenon that you're having right now broadly in China. But we also experience it here in the States. I had that same problem for me in my career.
Right.
And my father, both my father and mother grew up in the Midwestern part of the United States, which is all farm country. And they're very conservative, and they've got a certain way of doing things. And he was an engineer. My mother was an accountant.
Right.
And so when I tried to share with them my plan of the life I was trying to create, it didn't make any sense to him.
Right.
He went to go work for a company right out of college,
Right.
worked for the same company for 38 years, and retired.
Yeah.
That was all he understood. That's what he wanted me to do.
Right.
So he never did understand. He still doesn't understand.
And you accept it.
I accept that.
Okay.
But there was that moment of courage where I had to tell him, no,
that's not what I want.
That's not what I want.
Right.
And there were times where I interviewed for jobs because I knew I don't want this job, but my dad would like to know that I work at this company.
Right.
He would like to be able to tell his friends.
Right.
So I'll interview for that job.
Okay.
And I had to make that decision to go down the path I wanted. So in many ways, it's very much an individual decision that goes back to courage and understanding and faith in your decisions and knowing that you don't know have all the answers, but there's something in your gut that tells you.
Okay.
But if you can do that, your 20s are really a good time to expand your horizons. Open a lot of doors.
Right.
And then when you hit your 30s, you have to start closing some doors.
Right.
You want to focus in your 30s and build towards something.
Yeah.
So when you're in your 40s, your career is nearing a peak and you're stable.
Right.
So your 40s and 50s are really good times for you.
To have the harvest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's when you want to harvest.
Yeah. And that's where you are now.
Yes.
Right now.
Close. Almost
Okay.
there.
All right. But according to the performance or the result, that's what I guess.
I think that's true. And they're a little early.
Okay.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank